knowing that God created us, so we're special. Like, we don't need to prove to this person that we are great. Like, they're going to find out we great just because we in proximity.
Right.
And if they choose to recognize greatness and choose to be with me, then it's going to work out. If they don't like what they see, it's not going to work out. But that doesn't mean you're not great just because a relationship doesn't work out. That just means they're not the right fit, but God has somebody else.
Right. Just the same way we would have that approach with the job interview where, like, yeah, you may be bummed, but you know that, like, okay, if they didn't choose me and they chose somebody else, like, that's because I wasn't the best person for the job. And there's other jobs out there. Like, this is not there's no the one job. In today's culture, we see a lot of dating as practicing for marriage. Living together, test driving bodies, whatever that means.
We in the bed like...
Yes. A lot of, I kind of need to see what they're like. I need to put them in this situation. A lot of testing. And we have been doing that for decades, and guess what, y'all? It's not working. It's not making our marriages stronger. We're not happier in our marriages. We're not being married longer. We're actually getting divorced pretty quickly.
Maybe you've dated before you knew Christ, or even you dated since you were a Christian and things didn't work out the way you wanted to. So a lot of times you may not have the confidence that I know what I'm doing. But that's why we're here. We have this video and plenty others that can walk you through how to practically have a healthy relationship. So stick around because we want to do that for you. What's up, fam? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Tim. This is my beautiful wife, Pauline, and you're tuning into another episode of the W Podcast, where you get wisdom in the word with the
Wheeler.
Hey, so we're super excited to be back with another episode this week. What if we told you that dating isn't supposed to be practiced for marriage? Huh?
What?
Honestly, what if we told you it's more like an extended job interview? By the end of this episode, you're going to know how to date with peace instead of pressure, because you'll stop auditioning for love and start evaluating fruit. Now, why does this matter? Like, why is this so important for them to make sure they understand?
Because in today's culture, we see a lot of dating as practicing for marriage. Living together, test driving bodies, whatever that means.
We in the bed like...
Yes. A lot of, I kind of need to see what they're like. I need to put them in this situation. A lot of testing. And guess what, y'all? It's not working. It's not making our marriages stronger. We're not happier in our marriages. We're not being married longer. We're actually getting divorced pretty quickly. We need to reevaluate. We need to kind of go back to basics and go back to manufacturer settings when it comes to our expectations for marriage and how dating influences or impacts our marriage decisions. And we really believe that when we date in a way that honors God, and before you come for us, we already know the word dating is not in the Bible. We already know that it's more of a cultural term, but what we do know is that God does care how we treat ourselves and how we treat other people. And a big part of that comes into how we date in today's culture. And we don't want you to date in a way where you're working for a job and auditioning for a job that you honestly may never get. And we have better boundaries and healthier expectations when we go for a job interview than we do when it comes to our dating relationships.
The interview analogy I like, because if you think about it, in real interviews, when you know you're qualified for a job, like when you know I got the experience, I have the skills to do this job well, you don't go into that interview trying to prove that you're something you're not. You go into that interview confident because you know you have the skills to do the job. I remember the job that I'm at now, when I went to interview, and this is not a flex by any means. Like, honestly, because of what I do for a living as a recruiter, like, I should know how to interview, right? But when I went in for the interview, the guy was like, one of the interviewers said, like, do you do this often? Or like, you just seem really calm and confident.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that's not just because I know how to interview well. It also was because before I went on that trip, I prayed and asked the Lord, like, is this the job you have for me? And I felt like he said yes. So it is different when you walk in there knowing that the Lord said, this is it. Why do I bring that up? Because this is how we should show up in dating. Knowing that we have the skills to have a healthy relationship and knowing that God created us, so we're special. Like, we don't need to prove to this person that we are great. Like, they're going to find out we great just because we in proximity.
Right.
And if they choose to recognize greatness and choose to be with me, then it's going to work out. If they don't like what they see, it's not going to work out. But that doesn't mean you're not great just because a relationship doesn't work out. Like, that just means they're not the right fit, but God has somebody else.
Right. Just the same way we would have that approach with the job interview where, like, yeah, you may be bummed, but you know that, like, okay, if they didn't choose me and they chose somebody else, like, that's because I wasn't the best person for the job. And there's other jobs out there. Like, this is not there's no the one job. Like, people move on from jobs. And I think that, not that we're saying you should reduce a person to a job. And obviously, marriage lasts longer than a job. But we're not talking about marriage. We're talking about dating. We're talking about the process of dating. And when we kind of have the cultural mindset of, like, test driving people, or I'm going to live with them for X amount of time and see how it goes, and we're kind of going, exposing ourselves, exposing our bodies and our minds and our hearts, and like, hey, I'm going to pretty much treat this person however I want to treat them, and they need to prove to me that they're trustworthy, and you're putting everything out on the line, and you're saying, like, yes, I'll give you my body, I'll give you my money, we'll share accounts, we'll share, our homes, like, all these different things, our pets. But then the Bible's telling us to guard your heart. The Bible's saying, hey, don't put it all on the line. The Bible is saying that, hey, one approach to dating, the world's way of approach to dating, is not leading you towards peace. It leads to confusion. So when you break up and you live with somebody and you give them everything, you give them your body, and you're wondering, who am I? Who am I without this person? I've integrated my entire life, my soul, my life, with my being into this person. And what we really want you guys to know by the end of this episode is that dating for marriage isn't about playing a role. It's not about being wifey material or husband material or proving to whoever you're with, like, hey, I'm worthy of you taking the next step of commitment with me. It's about collecting data.
Yeah. Now, we know that this is easier said than done, but we did it, and
it's possible.
We've helped other people do it before, or do it as well. The reason why a lot of times this is not that easy is because we haven't seen it. So for some of us, we may have never seen a healthy relationship.
Right.
Or we've never had the opportunity to do it ourselves. Maybe you've dated before you knew Christ, or even you've dated since you were a Christian and things didn't work out the way you wanted to. So a lot of times you may not have the confidence that I know what I'm doing. But that's why we're here. We have this video and plenty others that can walk you through how to practically have a healthy relationship. So stick around, because we want to do that for you. Remember this: if you treat the relationship like practice, you'll end up crossing boundaries you regret, like Pauline was saying earlier. Mm-hmm. So you want to ask yourself, does this person have the spiritual character and emotional maturity to walk with me into whatever purpose God has for me? Mm-hmm. Now, practically, how do they do that?
Yeah, because you guys know we're always going to keep it practical for you, because we want you to be able to walk away with tools that you can start applying today. The first things you're going to do is ask intentional questions about their vision for their life, what they've been through in the past, maybe trauma when appropriate, as you're getting to know them as the relationship and the commitment develops, how they're healing from that, and then also the community that they trust. Community is so big. The next thing that's going to be practical is looking for fruit. And of course, the Bible tells us all about fruit in Galatians 5, about what fruit of the Spirit looks like. Is this person loving? Are they joyful? Are they patient? Are they kind? Are they focusing on goodness and kindness and gentleness and self-control? Self-control is so big. It's something that people really overlook in dating, because the same self-control that he exercises, ladies, when it's time to go home and, he wants to hang out a little bit longer past your curfew, but he's saying, nope, I set this boundary, I'm going to keep it. That's the same type of self-control that's going to help and even develop in marriage, when he says, hey, you know what? No, we're going to stick to the budget. No, we're not going to make this decision. But if he's not used to exercising self-control, and you haven't seen it in dating, you're definitely not going to see it in marriage. And then the next practical way that you can do this is by evaluating consistency, not potential. I want you guys to focus on patterns, not potential. Not, one day he could, or he told me that he wants to read his Bible he told me that he wants to, get a good job one day. No, like, what are his patterns? Because sometimes and we've seen this too, girls will like overlook guys because, oh, he's been trying, and I don't see any, he hasn't gotten the job yet that he says he's going to get. But does he apply to jobs every single night? Is he reaching out to mentors? Is he putting himself out there? Are there patterns of that, consistent patterns over months and months and months? You can trust that versus the guy who says, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor one day. And it's like, but you're not doing anything to put yourself in that position. And then the last way that this is going to be practical is by having fun and not auditioning for commitment. It's possible to do that. It's possible to have fun and to collect data. You can have a good time on an interview and make people laugh, and they can make you laugh, and you can enjoy your experience. But at the same time, they're collecting data. They're saying, hey, how did he respond in that situation? In job interviews, I guess they already know you're qualified, right? Because they already read your resume and called you up and got you to the interview. A lot of times they're just trying to confirm what they already know about you. And a lot of times in dating, we don't even do that. We don't look at somebody's resume. I remember when I was dating, and even my friends now who are single, the first thing I want to know about a guy who is interested in one of my friends, or my friend's is interested in him, is, why did your last relationship end? I want to know your resume. I want to know your history. I want to know what happened. That's going to tell me a lot. It's not a predictor, and it's not a death sentence if why your last relationship ended, but it's going to tell me a lot about where you were. Especially, if your last relationship was 10 years ago, that's something. But if it was 10 weeks ago, that's going to tell me something too. So you can have fun without auditioning for commitment and feeling like you're performing.
Yeah. So the way you ask questions, take notes, and follow up in a job interview is the same way you should approach dating. Like, you should be asking that person real questions.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be, what's your favorite color? Like, you should be asking them real questions about what they care about, what they think, getting their views on things. Like, you should be paying attention to what you notice. So are they nice to the waiter? Are they the same person around friends, the same way they are around mentors, the same way they are around people they don't know? Like, do they switch up? And follow up on anything that they say that you need clarity on. So if they say something that is a little concerning, or you don't really understand why they feel a certain way about certain things, like, ask them about it. Like, that's how you really get to know somebody, and that's how you can be confident if this is somebody you should move forward with or somebody you should run away from. Our heart for you, honestly, is that you would stop giving unserious and unsubmitted people full access to your heart. Pauline said it earlier, but the most valuable thing the Bible says is our heart. Like, guard your heart, because everything you do flows from it. Yeah. Proverbs 4:23 says that. So you have to remember that your heart is something to protect. I don't think we really think about that.
Yeah.
I don't think we really think about, like, my heart is not something that anybody can just get freely. They need to earn access into my heart.
Right, through trust. And I think that's, like, again, back to the job interview analogy, because I know this is kind of maybe hard for some people to wrap their heads around. But what I think is really helpful is if you think about it, like, when you walk into a job interview, you don't pretend like you already got the job. You don't just say, hey, I'm here, give me all my money, where's my first paycheck, where's my desk? You're not looking for the benefits right away. You are there showing up as yourself, talking about your experience, answering questions, having a good time, showing them your personality. You're exposing yourself. Not exposing is maybe not the best word, but you're sharing yourself with them, right? And sometimes, you're interviewing multiple places. And we're not going to talk about dating multiple people right now. But I think this all just speaks to the level of commitment. So you're sharing, just like you're sharing in a dating situation, you're sharing yourself. Yes, this is my favorite color. Yes, this is an important experience or a hobby that I have, or, something. You're getting to know me, absolutely, when we're in this process, but you're not getting the full benefit of being my spouse. I'm not handing you over my checkbook. I'm not allowing you to live in my space. I'm not giving you access to my body because you haven't earned it. The same way that I haven't earned it from you. And that's the same way, like, when you're going through a job interview, they're not going to pay you for being there. They may pay for your interview experience depending on the job, but they're not going to give you yes, come here, we're going to pay you every month, every 2 weeks. We're not giving you a desk, we're not giving you a company equipment and, a company car and things like that, because we're not trusting you to that level yet. And I think that That's the biggest thing. Is like people go into dating like, oh, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend. Of course, I'm going to give you my body. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you anything you need to feel supported and to feel loved. And there are really no boundaries there.
Hear us. We're not saying you should be guarded. Like, please, when we say protect your heart, guard your heart, we're not saying you should completely hide yourself or not give yourself. We're just saying that the amount of your heart, so that's your dreams, your fears, your desires, the amount that you're giving to somebody should match the amount of commitment that they have shown you. Meaning, conversations you have with someone you're talking to, let's be honest, that's different than the type of conversations you're having with your fiance.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same level of conversation. It's not the same level of intimacy. It's not the same level of trust, because the commitment that somebody who you're talking to is not the same as somebody who didn't put a ring on your finger, or that you said, yes, I'll accept your ring.
Yes.
So just be mindful of that, because even if you really needed money, you wouldn't just choose a job that you know would make your life miserable. And the same thing goes for your love life. Like, even though you want to be married, like, I know you want to be married. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you should choose a spouse or a future spouse who's going to make your life miserable. And you can choose to be with somebody just because you want to get out of the singleness stage of your life.
Right.
But ask yourself, is it really worth it if you know that person is just not great for you?
Right. Because the goal of dating is not to get married. Like, yes, that is the path to marriage, and you cannot get married without going through a dating process or some type of premarital process. But really the goal is to find out if you guys are qualified to walk and purpose together. So you're not going to be, an example of like performing in a dating relationship, if you can kind of, if you're asking yourself like, hey, I don't know if I've been doing this the right way or the wrong way, as if the back of your mind and your heart and your actions, and if somebody looking out from the outside of your relationship is looking in and they're saying like, hey, it looks like you're trying to prove that you could be a good wife or a good husband to this person. You're giving them glimpses of it. You're giving them tastes of it. You're cooking for them. You're cleaning for them. You're paying for her bills. You're kind of giving her wifey status. Like, that's... You're trying to prove to her, like, hey, I'd be a good husband because I make this money, because I have these assets, because I have these abilities and these connections. Instead of, hey, let's figure out if this is something we can do together. Like, let's discern this. Like, would we be the right fit for one another? Kind of like the same way you're going for a job interview. Like we've been talking about, like, hey, you would be able to, given your skill set and given your personality, you would fit in really well with this team, and you could help us get to this next goal and accomplish this next goal that we have. And you'd be able to say, hey, I want to work here because of what you guys stand for and who you all are connected with. You'd help me be able to get to the next level I want to get to in my career. That is a good match.
Yeah, and you can only do that well. Like, you can only choose your spouse well if you're showing up as the real version of yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're evaluating the other person intentionally. And there's 5 things I want you to share with them, because there are things you can do practically to make sure you're doing this well.
Yeah. So the first one is to show up as your true self. Again, we're not performing. We want you to be honest, to set boundaries. Like there are limits to things. So there are limits. The best way to think about boundaries is a fence, like a fence in a yard between your neighbor's property and your property. It's to keep the good things in and the bad things out, or really the things that are yours in your yard and the things that are your partners in their yard. So you want to set boundaries and keep your boundaries. You want to ask questions, really, really, really good questions, and really, really, really clear boundaries. And you cannot have clear boundaries in your relationship if you don't talk about them, if you don't write them down, if you don't share them. I remember we had a period in our dating relationship where we wrote things down, like, hey, what's important to you? What do you want to keep? What's going to work for you? What's going to work for me? Asking great questions is going to be being intentional about those questions. Hey, every date night, I'm going to show up with one prepared question, something that I want to learn more about you.
And it's easier now than ever. Use AI,
yes.
Use ChatGPT, Google, whatever. What questions can I ask? Or I'm pretty sure we have an episode. We definitely do have an episode. We could probably link it to this video where we tell you exactly what questions you should ask at every stage of a relationship. So there's no excuse to not know how to ask the right questions.
Right. And those hopefully will be conversation starters for you. And that's just like when you're in a job interview, like those interview questions that they're asking you, they're not just saying, what's your answer? Yes or no, I'm writing it down, moving on. They're really hoping to start a conversation to learn more about you, to hear a story about a time where you accomplished something or that you worked through a hard time.
The worst interviews are when people don't give you more, when they just don't make somebody pull teeth to get to know you.
That's not going to make them want to work with you, honestly. And the same thing in dating. And then the fourth thing you want to do is to observe their pattern. So not only are you just asking questions, because of course you want to hear their heart and what they say out of their mouth, but you want to watch their behavior. You want to see what type of decisions that they're making, the habits that they have, the people that they're giving their time to or not giving their time to, things like that. That's gonna tell you a lot about areas that they need to grow in, but also really what's important to them. Are they showing up and making decisions that are consistent with who they're telling me that they are? If they say, I love God and I want to be close to God, but they only go to church on Christmas and Easter, but they call themselves a Christian, I don't know. That's not the actions are not speaking. And actions speak louder than words. And then the last thing you want to do on the practical side is to trust God with the outcome. Very similar again to a job interview. You're going to show up, you're going to wear your best, you're going to be on time, you're going to answer the questions, you're going to do everything in your control to make sure that interview weighs in your favor. But at the end of the day, you have no idea who else they're interviewing. You have no idea what's going on within the company that may have changed, where they're not able to, maybe offer you the money that they said they were going to be able to offer you or whatever. There's so many things that are just out of your control. And I think that we trust God so much more with our careers sometimes in job interviews than we do with the dating process. If they come back to you and say, hey, the team really enjoyed getting to know you and bringing you in for interviews, but they decided to go with another candidate, go into another direction, or we're actually freezing hiring right now. The economy is crazy right now, so I know there's a lot of that going on where we're not able to hire anymore. And you're not going to take that in the sense of like, what's wrong with me? Maybe dating isn't for me. Maybe I'm just going to be single forever. And it's just like, man, this sucks, but God, I trust you. And I'm still gonna, I'm really proud of the way that I showed up for that interview. I'm really proud of the way that I did what I could control. And we need to have the same thing for dating. Like, don't let it be a damper on your entire identity and your entire kind of view of yourself because it didn't end up the way that you wanted it, to go. But then even if it does, even when you do get the job or even when you end up dating this person and ends up turning into marriage, that doesn't mean it's going to be smooth sailing. Now the real work starts, y'all. Like, when you get a job, the interview was fun. That's the easiest part, isn't it? Yeah. That's the funnest part is like, hey.
But that's like anything.
Right.
The easiest part of having kids is how you make them. And then also
I would say don't say pregnancy because pregnancy is not easy.
But it's easier than what you go through on a daily basis.
Sometimes.
Right.
I don't have anybody talking back to me.
Right, exactly.
Pregnancy was stressful though.
If you do those 5 things that Pauline mentioned, you're really going to set yourself up to walk in freedom in your love life. You're going to walk in clarity in your love life. And that's whether the person that you're with is who you're going to end up marrying or if they're who you need to break up with. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not a bad thing. Like, honestly, breaking up with the wrong person is the best thing you could ever do in your life. So please choose long-term peace over short-term pleasure, y'all. Mm-hmm. Because being in a relationship just to please yourself and not feel lonely, that's not going to result in you being with God's best. And it's honestly just going to delay you from what you really want, which is God's best.
And it teaches you to medicate your loneliness and treat your loneliness with something that's not good for you. Like, you're always kind of chasing the dragon in a way of like, oh, I have to stay in a relationship in order to do this. And then you end up subjecting yourself to more unhealthy habits and environments and treatment. There are worse things than loneliness. Like we said earlier, the only thing that can cure loneliness is the presence of God, not another person.
So we hope that this episode was helpful. Next week, we're actually going to be talking about how do you actually enjoy Christian dating? Like, how do you do that without losing peace or losing your purpose? We're going to walk you through that. So make sure you join us next week because it's really going to help you set yourself up. So you're going through this dating process, but how do I actually enjoy it? We're going to walk you through that next week. So we'll see you then on the W Podcast.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video.
To get more Christian relationship advice, subscribe to our channel.
And make sure you check out our other videos as well.